Good morning, everyone. It is October 22nd, 2017. We're here for another Sammie's Planetary Synthesis. A lot has happened, as many of you probably are experiencing. We are in a really brand new time. Things have accelerated a great deal. Things are getting much more bizarre in some ways. So we have a lot of material to, it's a very different perspectives, again, that we're going to present today. So let's align ourselves first, just so that we stabilize the field. So if you feel called to do so, repeat to yourself as well. In the name of the I Am, the eternal formless one, we call forth all aspects of our soul being, the soul essence, which has always been connected to the formless one and formlessness. We are connected to divine intelligence. We affirm that we are the eyes of Prime Creator. And what we witness, all information is sent back to this formless field. We align to the law of one. We call in the Autism Oversoul, this collective group of consciousness that is here, in fact, invited by the human Oversoul, so that we may free this planet and this universe from a limitation energy field of consciousness. We open the 144 planetary Earth grid and invite all sentient beings on the planet to join us to assist in holding the level of vastness and information that will be transmitted today. We open to the field and the underlying matrix of our solar system, our Milky Way galaxy, all galaxies in this universe, and we open to the underlying matrix of our universe. We align to the next harmonic universe and ask all beings from this next harmonic to bridge into this universe as we transition. May all the information that we share today be in alignment with your soul purpose, your gift that you have here to deliver. And may we all understand unity intelligence and unity consciousness in this field. I'm going to draw an anchor from your soul star to your earth star, to our earth star, drawing in stability bars into the earth, into our galaxy, into this universe. Okay, I'm going to share my screen so we can use some visuals for the energy work. It also keeps me on track. Okay, I'm going to do it that way. All right, because of holidays coming up, we have rescheduled a November session for November 19th, which is the Sunday before Thanksgiving. And we decided to do the December session because the fourth Sunday falls on December 24th. And we also thought the numbers of 1221 would be a good time to do the session for December. And I'm not sure if we're going to continue this afterwards after December. It was in order to bring alignment to the, so that we can move to the next harmonic. So after that, we're not sure what we're going to do after that. But a 1221 feels like a good day numerically, since we're going to be balancing what we might call the above and the below, and the 1221. The numbers are like mirror images of each other. So just to keep that. Yeah, no, this is not working. Yeah. Questions? If anybody have questions, you can ask questions on the or unmute and ask a question if anybody has any questions in previous sessions.
I was asking Linda if she had any questions. Oh, not questions. I just would, while people are thinking of questions or whatnot, it just was listening back through the last couple of programs in the last couple of days, and oh my gosh, what you guys are doing. Wow. A lot was explained to me in your words and your drawings of concepts that I kind of got before, but it's helping to bring it into more of an understanding than an understanding of some of these things. So I wanted to express that appreciation.
Well, thank you.
For what you got.
It is really new. So, and I think it just goes to the fact that these individuals here are bringing. They have a challenging life on the planet because they're not fully connected to their body, but because of that, have access to a really different perspective on things. And some of it's been, I mean, a lot of it, it's very surprising.
Yeah, their clear perspective is obvious and appreciated.
Thank you. I know. We appreciate the kids for what they do as well.
Big gratitude.
Okay, well, it looks like there's no more. There aren't any questions for the small group that is here now. Other people, they might join in later and have questions. But we like to just keep plugging away, and people who show up will show up, and people who watch later will watch later. And the consciousness that everyone is bringing is assisting in stabilizing the information that's coming through. I can record this by myself, but I definitely have found that by opening it up to as many people who want to join in, it's actually, there's more information coming in, and it stabilizes the power of the information and the energy. So appreciate everyone that shows up. Okay, Carl, anything else? If you want to mute, then we'll move to the next slide. We're going to keep stabilizing and anchoring because the information today is there's some really wonky information that we're going to be and energy work that we're going to be doing today. So we're going to invite in the presence of Gaugamadra, the unicorn, one of the cosmic unicorns that Sammie brought in. And with this cosmic unicorn, we activate our light body and the rainbow meridian system. We invite in Minerva, the other cosmic unicorn, and the consciousness of the Christ Sophia. The 12-dimensional nature of time that we live in. We offer up an iron energetic rod if you feel that would help you. You connect that from soul star to earth star. We open all channels of light that forms this body, the vertical, the horizontal, the diagonal, and open any new subtle energetic openings that you have available to you today. Try this again. Let's try this one. Okay, so what happened on the 10/10/2017? These are just a few perspectives, and other people may have had other experiences that we don't, that I don't have listed here. So the 5 boys said they did receive the transmission successfully. And on 10/20, which was just on Friday, they were successfully able to transmit the information, the codes to the collective consciousness of their collective group. So there are some of us who were able to receive, let's say, an aspect of that activation, and now they have transmitted it to their collective consciousness group, and people like us and star seeds will continue to receive that transmission from them through their bodies, and then we're like translators. The star seeds are like translators, so that more people can receive that activation in a way that is appropriate for who they are and their energy field. So this is going to continue according to what Srivan and the 5 boys said. So there are many different levels of openings that occur, both from the macrocosmic and the microcosmic levels. It was as if the front door and the back door were blown open to source consciousness. So the above and the below, so that any direction that you would look at or go in, we are connected to Prime Creator, and through Prime Creator connected to formlessness. Some people may have experienced it as if you're going backwards in time, because if you think about it, since we came from Prime Creator, the original source, and and that door was open now, may be feeling like you were actually pulled back in a way, or going backwards in time. One person said to me she felt like she was skydiving backwards. So there's a lot of very different perspectives on that. Being suspended in time, as if everything around you is moving except you, that you're stable and time is moving around you. There are further reversal codes that were shattered. That means those who have been controlling the planet have put into the multidimensional realms codes and like miasmatic kind of matrices that have held us in like a limited state so that we cannot expand beyond a certain point. A portal into the subatomic world is open, and we're actually going to be doing some work with that subatomic world. Dimensions are bleeding together. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in more detail. But let's first look at what are dimensions. Dimensions, as described by the kids, is a bandwidth of light codes. So it's like the toolbox from which everything is created. So there are certain light codes and waves that are available in each different dimension. An interesting thing that Sammie had shown me a few years ago was that the dimensions are not like stacked as in the first dimension, second dimension, third dimension. They're kind of woven in a way that creates matrices, mandala-like forms. And so like a 14th dimensional space can be right next to an 8th dimensional space. And it all seems to depend on our soul matrix and how those dimensions are configured and blended together, because it's from the dimensions that our bodies are actually formed. So our chakras are like portals into these dimensions. So like the root chakra is one, the first dimension, second dimension, sacral, and so forth. But again, they're not like stacked as in hierarchical order. An analogy that Sammie said was like, think about the raw materials that we gather to make things in this physical world. So if we're making a chair, right, we get wood from a tree. We may break it down further and add other kind of components to it to make some sort of composite. We have metal that may be a composite of lots of different metals and alloy to make the nails and the screws, and we put it together. So it's similar in that sense that our bodies are multidimensional forms that collapses into this form by those codes. So far, we have been operating in a 15-dimensional structure, and as probably a lot of you know, we didn't even know that we existed in a 15-dimensional system, and that we have 15 chakras. A lot of them were actually hidden from us. We've only been working with the 7 main body chakras. So the dimensions in a less rigid dimensional structure, they call them more morphic fields. So they're much more malleable. There isn't as great they're not as rigid, let's just put it that way. So as we progress and transcend, we're going to be learning more about these morphic fields, and we're going to be really learning a different way of creating that's much more malleable, let's say. So just as an example, this was something that Sammie had shown me a couple of years ago, and it's almost exactly 2 years ago. It was on 10/27/15. This is sort of an approximation of a vision that she showed me of, it was like her view, top-down view of the 8th dimensional space. So all those colors that you see around it are like the other dimensions, and they create the is-not space that creates then an 8th dimensional opening. Sammie's consciousness is most coherent in the 8th dimension, and and interestingly, the eighth dimension is also a very important transition and portal into a physical reality. So our eighth dimensional chakra is located at the high heart. It's also connected to the universe. That's why it's called the universal heart. Yeah, and it's interesting that that's where Sammie's consciousness is the most coherent. So, as an example of what is happening, so the eighth dimension now not as rigid. It's becoming more of a morphic field, and since it's an important transition into the physical world, I've drawn in the law of one symbol in the center, and those other energy waves are sort of to break down that more rigid structure of the eighth dimension, how it was held together. So if you can imagine that our bodies are made from the information and codes from these morphic fields, then, I know the last couple of years, a lot of people probably, if you've been doing some work with other energetically sensitive guides, let's say we were talking about, becoming more malleable, that the human form is becoming much more bendable, where even the bones, the most densest aspect of who we are, is, it's changing, and it seems logical that the dimensions would have to become also more malleable in order to support that kind of physical structure. So what is that going to look like? I don't know exactly. When we go through walls, I don't know. But we just have to, really have to trust and see what comes about. So we're going to be working with some of these fields, and some of you have been seeing these drawings before in the past. This is Denadra. She's the liquid sun of the 19th morphic field. We've been talking about the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th chakra points. So it's to connect with these morphic fields. And 19 is actually not the highest. There's actually more. Sammie actually been up to the 25th. She's actually taken me to the 25th point. But we need to get used to these first, and these have an important function in dissolving certain areas, and also microcosmic expansion. So we'll get into more of that. But this is Cloadendra from the 18th morphic field, and these liquid suns we're going to be using today in the energy work. So just introducing them. Interestingly, this is Lucerne. The goldish, orange goldish part is Lucerne, and the red is the 16th morphic field. So interestingly, something about that 16th field as like a transition into the 15 dimensions here. So Lucerne seems to be the only one that has a masculine quality to me. The other two are liquid suns that have a feminine quality. And the 17 doesn't refer to the kids. We talked about that number 17 and the seventh prime number. Yeah, they actually go higher than that. So part of this was a vision around that 1010 that I started seeing happening. So yeah, if you imagine that this entire area here is our universe, then those liquid suns started to bleed through down into our universe, and causing the dimensions to not completely collapse, but kind of bleed through in a way that we haven't been used to. And so I know that's been causing like dizziness for me, at times, and like an internal kind of anxiety at times as well. So just keep that in mind. So the symbol again is drawing a law of one. I drew in there so that we can, so that we're drawing the law of one right down into the physical matrix of this universe. The subatomic world. We're going to get into the subatomic world. Another aspect that was opened up that I saw that week. So the subatomic particle, we're going to really get more deeper into the leptons. So the lepton is such as an electron, muon, or neutrino that does not take part in a strong interaction. Another way, this from Wikipedia, they call them flavors. So I'm going to be talking more about the electron, since I think most people are familiar with them. That's what my limited physics know. So if many of you remember, or might know, so we have like a nucleus, and let me try to get that. Sorry. My tools aren't working out. I see what I'm doing over here. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you have like a nucleus that has the proton and the neutron, and then sort of the electrons kind of circle around that. The electrons, as we've known, has a negative charge, and within the neutron there is protons and neutrons, and that sort of forms the atom. And depending on the particular atomic chemical or the particular atom, they may have different numbers of protons and electrons that circle around it. So that's sort of the structure that we know about atoms. I think some of you who are pretty savvy yourselves with science and physics know that what they're finding that is actually the electrons and positions of the electrons are actually more like probabilities. It almost like doesn't exist in solid form, and yet this is what our solid material world is made out of. And we'll get into why this is significant. So there are 4 kids on the planet, individuals who actually access the world of leptons. Let's say they're like portals into the leptons. There are 2 females and 2 males. There were originally 5 of them, but one of them, I was told this morning, had passed on when he was very young, and he's still part of that group, more as a soul consciousness. It sounded like he had challenges because of his access point. He had challenges in the physical, and that the types of things that he would want to eat, and got the impression that he died from something like that. So why is this significant to us about the world of leptons and specifically electrons? Well, this is what I was, this was sort of a vision that I had. It's not exact, but this is sort of an approximation. And I was told this is a lepton, and it kind of seems to contain all those what they called the flavors of what a lepton could be. So when I drew it out, it actually felt like there was something wrong. I mean, it feels like it's diseased. And why is that significant? It seems, and I heard one other person talk about this as well, but it seems that the electron has been manipulated, let's say, to vibrate in a certain way so that in our mental and emotional bodies, remember our bodies are made up of these atoms. Our DNA is made up of atoms that have electrons and neutrons and protons. So the electron, by having it vibrate in a certain way, it made it so that it would be difficult to clear out the mental and emotional body. And also with the electron vibrating a certain way, it charges our emotional body in such a way that there are certain types of emotions, especially that causes us to get a thrill from that, let's say. So things like fear and continuously vibrating in fear or even terror, that there were certain beings that were even, let's say, siphoning off from this vibrational wave of the electron, which is really not, which is not natural. So this is why this is one area that's important to clean up and to dismantle. And when we actually access original source on a continuous basis, this should not happen. The electron should not be vibrating in this way. So we're going to be doing some work today to clear that up. Okay. I know that's kind of a wild perspective. I'd heard that, but I was really taken aback by the reality of that. Okay, so in order to prepare for this energy work, let's take a deep breath. Let's look at the chakra system. Looking at also the collective human form, and looking at the areas where we could expand the chakras to in order to hold this level of information. First, being drawn to the ninth chakra, which is in the medulla oblongata. We call on that liquid sun, Denadra. Allow that liquid sun, that sapphire blue liquid sun, to engage right in that ninth chakra. And by expanding, we're going to be doing a microcosmic expansion, meaning going deeper in to open up more refined spaces, let's say, that's in the ninth chakra can vibrate at. So just allow yourselves to expand that out. Human matrix. Let's go to the throat chakra, it feels like. First, let's go to the crown. Okay. crown chakra. We're going to call on Philodendra, the 18th liquid sun. Expand out that 7th chakra. Let's go to the throat chakra. Lucem. Expand. Microcosmically expand that throat chakra. Let's do the high heart. 8th chakra. This one we're going to use the liquid light flame. Next, we'll go to the heart chakra. Collective healing. There's like all three. Sun, Philodendra, Denega, and the heart. Okay. Okay. Solar plexus. Using the sun first. The sun, Philodendra, Denega, the sacral. The root chakra. Into the Earth Star, which is your 12th chakra. Expand that out. It looks like, depending on your soul being, knows which ones to activate. So it's going to allow the process to happen. Healing of the soul. Okay. Connect to the 13th chakra, which is about 12 inches below our feet. Allow some of this excess energy to actually drain down into the 13th chakra and into the earth. And from Earth Star to Soul Star, about 10 inches above the head. Expand that Soul Star, and let's call in any fragments of soul that have not integrated with you. You're going to seal that with Law of One. And connect it to the heart, the throat, and third eye, your personal soul matrix. Do this 5-pointed thing that engages from the heart to crown, your left palm, heart to left foot, up to heart, right foot, up to heart, From right foot to right palm back to the heart, from right palm to the crown, and back to the heart. That engages your and the feet chakras as well, centers in the heart. Let's call in future etheric bodies like we've done in the past so that we can integrate with grace and ease as we go, so that we're not integrating everything at once. This is Choana from the heavens. It comes down to man. It does in the layers of the future self to hold the information coherently. I'm also going to call in 4 archangels. These are new archangels. This is their energy. The first one up on the left is Archangel Sophiel. It is a benevolent universe. To the right is Archangel Neophelus. God flourishes. Archangel Jezebiel, bottom left. God loves the human form. Bottom right is Archangel Xenophiel, which literally means God loves the strange. Love encompasses all, and God calls you home. It's the invitation that all are welcome. Release guilt and shame. And take a deep breath. Just checking in to see how everyone's doing. Sammie activated her dismantling matrix. We clear away any stuff that we don't need that's come up to the 0-point field. Collective human form is feel stable. Let's do a quick clearing with Mary Magdalene's copper spiral. The solar serpent. Activate Kaya multidimensional earth dragon in the earth. Open up all access points in the earth. Multidimensional earth. And so get ready to go through the portal into the Lepton realms. That iron rod of light goes through us to keep us stable. We'll do one through the heart and also under the arms and pits, so like through the crossbar. Also a human, generic human form. Keep the collective human form also stable. And so these are the 5 kids, well, 4 here and 1, but let's call them the 5 souls. So one of the young girls, or she seems to be a teen, is she's stabilizing her sacral chakra. Sammie is stabilizing the microcosmic field. Two of the boys are stabilizing the solar plexus. Go into the root chakra. Stabilize the root chakra. You go through the portal, and so for some people, if you don't want to go through the portal, that's okay. If you don't feel like you're ready today, and I'm saying this also for the recording for other people who join in, that people who don't necessarily go through this portal are the ones holding that portal stable. They're stabilizing. So this is the portal is a top-down view from the kid's perspective, from the 15th chakra all the way through. There's it's like a beautiful mandala. A black space with really very refined colors. And other people may see something different, which is just totally fine. And actually good then, because it's everybody that we add everyone's perspective into it. Okay. So going through the portal, there's an aspect of Sammie's microcosmic self also going through. And together as a collective, then we can start to clean up that world. So we're going to Benadryl. And so we are the eyes of Prime Creator. And what we can now see and witness with our own eyes is informing Prime Creator and the Formless One. All anti-particles, anti-matter, and I don't mean anti as in bad, but all those and particle and matter is not even the right word, but it comes from the Formless One. So if you remember from the last session, we talked about the Formless One before emanation, when there was movement in that formlessness. It created these, let's say, anti-particles or anti-emanations that are the seeds, let's say, for creation. And so as the witness, now seeing the disease of this lepton state, which was not originally the way it was supposed to be. We're cleansing. Philodendra, further cleanse. Stabilize this with a star tetrahedron, a 20-planet star, which the kids work from. Even Sammie's dismantling matrix. Spinning that. Got some stability. Words that goes right to our feet. Stabilize us even further. Just kind of wobble. Move into the kind of beginning. Into the earth. This is the breath of ether. Stabilize it further. This is the 16th and 17th Mercury field. The producer just came in here. So, okay, so there's five souls who access this lepton realm, saying that this will engage in our root chakras and sacral chakra, since that this is what our physical bodies are mostly made out of. Starts to engage, starts to clean the electrons in our body. And there's more work that we're going to do coming up, probably the next session or the last session. It has to do with the protons and the neutrons. One of the gals, one of the young girls, is saying the neutrinos. The neutrinos are vibrating. It causes the neutrinos to vibrate faster. Causes the neutrinos to actually then interact with our electrons, which hasn't been possible before. The only thing I know about neutrinos is they're very hard to detect. They seem to just pass through our matter, but maybe they're supposed to. I don't know, but that's what she seems to be saying, is that the neutrinos actually interact with matter in a different way. So, yeah, not everything's going to be complete today. This is starting the process to just clean up the subatomic world. I'm just making sure that there's anything else that's needed. So if you feel burning sensations in the sacral and root chakras, that's what's happening. Connect to the feet. She was saying, palm chakra, engage, making sure everything's stable. Looking at the collective healing. The earth. That's good. This is Thalia. She's a primordial dragon of our universe, as it says. And I gave her a symbol. So as you can see, the top part that has that hook. I didn't know why all these symbols are coming in with these hooks, but this represents like the two, the prime creator. And also then the bottom is accessing prime creator in both directions, and actually then connects to the formlessness and the formless one. Primordial dragons carry the codes from the formless one. Like I had mentioned earlier, the formless one creates all those anti-matter, anti-particle, anti-essence is the only way to really call it, aspects of consciousness to so that we can then create from. So they hold, they're like the toolbox. So depending on what we're creating, it holds those anti-essence particles of information. Not even particles. I don't even want to call it particles, but you understand. And so we access that formlessness all the time. From this perspective, the form and the formless are the same. And if you even think about at the atomic level, that the electrons, protons, neutrons, they look like, let's say, smoke or fog. They are barely there. We are formless. Form and formlessness are the same. And we also say to those who created this universe out of ignorance, right? There were beings who, let's say, wanted to create on their own without using that original source information source from that formless one. And that's why a lot of these distortions in our universe exist. I say to you that you actually deceived yourselves into ever believing that you could create without original source codes. Because even your beingness, your very beingness, originally came from that original formlessness and the formless one. So that was the first lie that was ever told, and the birth of deception, when you deceived yourselves into thinking that you could even be separate. And so we dismantle anything that has been holding that deception. And Thalia has been awoken now. She has risen, and all the codes that she holds is now available, and she is cleansing this universe. Because when we connect, when we are fully connected to the original formless one, all is shared. There is nothing held back. This is love from the formless one. All the information is freely given, and we exchange information all the time. And we collect up all that no longer resonates, and we dismantle it and send it through the 0 point field, or the also known as the vector equilibrium. If you remember abacus from the last session, this is one of Sammie's symbols. It activates and engages the original and true flower of life, because we have not even been operating on the true flower of life. The true flower of life was meant to spin a certain way and also access source codes all the time. So this abacus is bringing balance again to all the work that we've done so far to bring it into coherence with the original flower of life that we've been engaging now. Checking in with the original human. So engaging with the original, or the collective human. Activating abacus even into the earth. So Iwa Nuwa. That's spirit and matter. Go right down through your beingness, bridging your spirit, soul, the physical, the mental, emotional, the antiparticle and antimatter aspects of our beingness. This is the balancing shield to bring it all into coherence. All aspects of our being being blended together as we prepare to make this transition. Okay, we're going to disconnect from that portal into the subatomic, just so that we're not walking around feeling dizzy and spinny. So they're going to close that portal off for now. Not completely, they're saying, but just at an appropriate level for where we're operating right now. That access point is opened. In the name of the I Am, the deep connection to the formless and eternal one, to the eternal flame of the spirit, the breath. We close and seal this session. May all who participate integrate with grace and ease. We offer the energy process that we have accomplished today to all of humanity, all sentient beings on this planet. May the collective human and the individuals that make up this collective awaken with grace and ease. In alignment with the law of one, we close this session. So it is done. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And we will see you again on November 19th.